to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to Power Talk Friday on A Well-Designed Business. This is an intro to the intro, just so you know. A couple of things happened after my conversation with Hilary that I wanted to scooch in and let you know about. And the first one is that when Hilary Hendershott and I were done talking, she said to me, oh, shoot, you know what? I have a gift that I wanted to give your listeners, and we forgot to mention it. And so what we have is Hilary has the top 4 ways to remove tax time stress for business owners. Okay? We actually talked a lot more about wealth management and planning and that sort of angle, but it is 1 week from tax day in the U.S., and she thought it would be a nice gift, and I agree with her. You can get that gift for yourself at luannnigara.com/313. Okay? luannnigara.com/313, and you can download your free PDF of the top 4 ways to remove tax time stress for business owners from Hilary Hendershott. Now, the other thing that I wanted to make sure that I let you know is that Cred and My Doma Studio have joined, and they are co-hosting a book signing and lunch for us at High Point Market. This is going to be Monday, April 16th at 1 o'clock p.m. at the Kravitz showroom at Market Square. I think it's 217 is their room. They would love if you would RSVP since they are having lunch there for us. So to do that, please do that at event.mydomastudio.com/Luann. That's event.mydomastudio.com/Luann. Now, if you're on my email list, of course, this is going to be included in the emails between now and April 16th. And if you're not, please get on the email list by texting the number 444-999 and entering the word Design Biz, no caps, no spaces, and you will be brought to one more screen where you'll put your email address in and you'll get it. You also always know you can find everything on my website, which is at luannnigara.com. Now, if you've already purchased a book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, please bring it with you to High Point. I'd love to sign it and meet you and talk with you about your business a little bit. We will have some copies available there on hand to purchase, but the easiest is to buy it ahead of time. You can get it on Amazon, or you can simply go to luannnigara.com/book. luannnigara.com/book. Okay, let's get to the show. I'd love to introduce you to Hilary Hendershott. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Power Talk Friday on A Well-Designed Business. I'm happy to introduce you guys today to Hilary Hendershott. Hi, Hilary. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, thanks.
So Hilary is a CPA. I'm going to, a CFA, a certified financial planner, and she's got a lot of street cred here, guys. So let me go through her bio a few minutes while Hilary sits there and patiently listens to all of her achievements. She is the founder of Hilary Hendershott Wealth Management. It is a leading financial advisory firm for women, and Hilary's mission is to motivate women and their loved ones to be financially empowered. She is also the host of Profit Boss Radio, which I listen to and highly recommend. It's a weekly podcast where Hilary and her guests offer inspiration, advice, and support for women in their financial journey. She's a TEDx speaker. She's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, NBC, ABC, Fox, Daily Worth, Forbes, and Investopedia. In 2014, Hilary was recognized as a top 40 under 40 entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley. She's had more than 30 television appearances, and she's considered the go-to personal finance expert in the Silicon Valley for NBC. They have nicknamed her the investor's voice of reason. So, Hilary, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on the show today. I have like about 50 dozen questions here.
50 dozen questions. We better get started.
Exactly. So the first thing that I'm going to color this. One thing you have to understand about me is I'm more than 35 years in business at this point. So some of these things I learned the right way. Some of these things I learned the hard way. And some of my questions will be based on insights. And also some of my questions to you, Hilary, will be based on things I actually need to know. But the first, right?
Free coaching.
That's it, right? But one of the first things that I feel like that goes through my mind when, for instance, your title and subtitle, it's Wealth Management for Women. And right there, I feel like in my experience, all these years talking with colleagues and coaching people and helping people and everything else, I feel like sometimes when we understand and know the need for a certified financial planner, but we see or hear that phrase, wealth management, we think, well, when I'm wealthy, then I'll have a certified financial planner. But you need to start before that. Do you agree, Hilary?
It is sort of an awkward transition. Most financial advisors have a $500,000 minimum, $1 million minimum. And so the question is, if you didn't inherit money or win the lottery, how do you get there? How do you get from zero to a $500,000? And, it's not a question that's been fully answered. I have a solution out there now in that I've created a way to use technology so that I can work with clients who have 25,000 or more to invest, and we do that in ways that are comprehensive, just like I work with my high net worth clients. But I think for most people, they find that they start out life and they're sort of putting money away like a squirrel. They're either savers or spenders. And for the people who are lucky enough to be savers, they're putting money away. Maybe they're saving in the 401k, and then they leave that employer and they go and roll that over to an IRA. And so they're just sort of starting to sock away money. And then they wake up one day and they realize we have no idea what the heck we're doing about college savings, or, oh my gosh, we're about 10 years from retirement. Maybe we should see a professional. Or, mom, it looks like mom is probably going to pass away this year and we're going to get an inheritance. We probably got to figure out what this means for us and what to do with it. So it becomes this sort of issue specific, timely kind of question. People realize, okay, now it's complex enough to bring in a professional. And assuming you don't make any mistakes before that, I think that can be a way that it works, as long as you're saving at a high rate. Now, most of us, and I'm sure you all know this from reading the media, that the vast majority of Americans are woefully underprepared for retirement. I mean, depending on the source that you read, some people say people in their 50s, some sources say people in their 50s have only $30,000 saved. There are other statistics that say that if you have a $1,000 cash need, like an emergency where you need $1,000, something like 80% of Americans couldn't come up with it in cash, right? You might be able to plunk it down on a credit card.
Right? Yeah.
So, I think what you're speaking to is maybe not the need for a financial advisor, but the need to make sure that you're saving money. And now a lot of people want to reach out for accountability. Can the financial advisor provide that? Yeah, I think some can. But so I think the path to hiring a wealth team is different for each individual. But certainly I have seen people make tremendous financial mistakes when they try to go it on their own, or they avoid hiring someone or paying for professional help because they don't want to pay the price. But the truth is that financial mistakes can cost people far, far more than the cost of professional advice. Should you get in trouble with the IRS? Just as an example, I have a client who, before she hired me, she made $3 million in her company ESPP. So she works for one of these big Silicon Valley firms that's down the street from me. So she had $3 million, and her coworker said, do this on your tax return. She did that and she lost $1 million.
Oh my God. Oh
right? So
my
now
God. But
she has,
taking advice from her coworker that is
right, it
not
was
an
free.
accountant or
It was
a
free.
planner. Okay. As designers, we know this story because you know what this story is? They're working with a client that said, my neighbor said to put the pipe there or put the beam there, and I did it, and the house fell down. So we get
Oh my
how
goodness.
important it is to get advice from somebody who is an expert at what they do, and not your girlfriend over
Have
a
you
glass of
literally had
wine.
a client's house fall down? That's
No, I have
horrifying.
not. I bet you if we called for horror stories, we'd get them, though, Hillary. That's the
Right.
truth. So, okay. This is a great clarification, is that a financial wealth management planner might be somebody that you actually kind of wait until you've got some money accumulated. But my thing is I want to bring up that not waiting, like you said, till you're 50 or 60 years old and then say, I got 10 grand, I've got to retire. So we are talking here, our audience, Hillary, that we're talking with, as a lot of them are solopreneurs and they are running their own businesses and maybe not even paying themselves yet. And so, or thinking they shouldn't pay themselves yet, or wondering how. And so, obviously there's tax limit, there's tax conversation to have, and there's, whether you're an LLC or this or that, that's not this conversation. It's not your expertise. But the thing about it is there are ways that you want to address this, even if you are 30 years old with your own business and you're the only employee for your own business. We want to get them on the path of taking their finances seriously and their own financial health seriously. And it's something that you do. You specialize in bringing these discussions, these things to light for those of us that may not really believe it or understand it or realize how important it is.
I do. I'm kind of a Joan of Arc for women when it comes to wealth building. I'm sort of on my horse, holding the flag up high, riding through the wind.
Hair blowing behind
yes,
you.
exactly, hair blowing. Thank you. I think Joan of Arc shaved her head, but you're right, definitely. I like the imagery. I am just really all about the empowerment of women through wealth building. And I think, as I said to you in kind of our pre-chat, that wealth building is the last feminist frontier, that we've taken ground everywhere in terms of wage parity. We now don't always have to be the stay-at-home parent. We're making more of the household financial decisions. But what we know is that, for example, a 2016 BlackRock financial survey found that while women say that they're happier and more confident about their financial decisions, 71% of us have our money sitting in cash. And so to speak to that 30-year-old entrepreneur, that designer who's a 1099 or solopreneur, it's okay where you're at. I'm not saying that you've done anything wrong, but kind of the phases of business and the phases of life are, you need to recognize that until you're paying yourself a CEO's salary, you don't really have a business. Right. You have like an expensive hobby, right? And I find so many business owners are paying themselves minimum wage or less. And it's like, why don't you just go get a job?
Right.
And it's not a capabilities question. So if that's where you are, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. As an entrepreneur, I mean, business ownership can be the golden road to an amazing lifestyle. And when you're already in the driver's seat, you have your foot on the gas, you have your foot on the brake, you can turn the steering wheel. And so all that we need to do is a few tweaks to get your business really humming along in a profitable way. And when I say pay yourself like a CEO, I want you to get to 6 figures of compensation as quickly as possible. $100,000. I tell people in my business ownership, I have a course called the Money Blueprint for business owners. I tell people, if you're going to run a business, I want you to at least have a stretch goal of paying yourself $250,000. And what's it going to take to get there, right? Because business ownership is a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of liability, especially you're in and around people's homes, and it's a big deal. you need to be well compensated to take on that kind of responsibility, those work hours, that potential expense and liability. And frankly, when you're a CEO or a business owner who's paying yourself a generous wage, a wage that feels like, yeah, I'm being taken care of, and you're a different professional. I challenge you to say, if I showed up in the client's home, aren't I going to be a better designer and a better project manager if I'm making $250,000 versus $32,000 a year?
Right.
You know?
It's a feeling. And that is a lot of what happens with small business owners, interior designers, everybody, is that until you really, really feel it, until you put that coat on and you know that's who you are, then you don't charge. But sometimes I encourage people just to charge, raise the rate, and then maybe the feeling follows it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh,
yeah,
I'm making that much for this. Okay, now I feel great.
Yeah, I mean, feelings don't always precede action. Sometimes
Right.
feelings follow actions.
Exactly. It's funny because it sometimes does happen that way. Because what it is sometimes it's like, every once in a while I encourage somebody to just do it. Just do it once. Just go out and say that's what your hourly is. Just go out and say that's what your consultation fee is. The first person that says yes and you complete that transaction, I guarantee you have no problem doing it the second, third, and fourth time, right?
Yeah.
So now you have a couple of things that I particularly love about you and your outlook and the way you do things. And I actually just want to preface this by saying, although you specialize personally in wealth management for women and empowering women, I still was interested in having you on the podcast because, first of all, I know that you're very smart. I listen to your show. I know that you're very smart. And the other thing is that even though as interior designers, we're not all women, you know what I mean? We do have men. There are some similarities in the way creatives downplay and underplay their value as it relates to money, the way as a stereotype that happens for women also. So we are talking to men and women, but I think that as an industry, we struggle with knowing our value and standing there and charging for it. So it's my disclaimer to all my buddies out there that are men. Okay.
Yeah. Being for the women doesn't mean being against the men.
That's
totally
right.
agree.
Exactly right. Exactly. So the thing is, there were a couple of things that I thought were very interesting. The first thing is I just want to share this line from your website that I absolutely love. And it says, "I'm not your father's certified financial planner." And I love that because we all have this vision in our mind so often of going to see the financial planner and having them look at us like, well, how come you don't know this? And what I do have to explain all this to you. And, your role and your outlook on it is not that. So I love that. And then I also like that you have a blog post that says financial facts that every woman should know. And I'm just going to say everyone should know. This one is going to resonate with my audience. You're not bad at money because you're bad at math. So I love that, Hilary, because, look, I happen to be bad at math and not so great at money either, by the way. Yeah. But I have a husband who is my partner, and that's why I know how important this is because I have somebody side by side. My listeners know this, that he is in charge of 95% of the things that happen in our financial world. But my reality is that I get a full-on explanation without feeling intimidated on anything that I want to understand. So I understand as much as I want to know and need, and I don't have that like, I can't ask you. But there are colleagues of ours out there, men and women, that feel like they're not good at money and they have to go to that stranger that feels like their father's CFA. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Oh, there's a lot there. That was like 6 different prompts. Okay,
I know.
First of all, good personal finance can be accomplished with simple addition and subtraction. So you don't have to understand calculus or future value calculations to understand that I'm either spending more than I make or I'm spending less than I make, right? And I think that people let themselves get disempowered psychologically, and they they throw the baby out with the bathwater. They say,
Mm.
well, I'm just not good at this numbers thing, so forget it. I'm never going to be financially successful. And that's a mistake. You don't have to be great at math if you build the right team. There are emblems of trustworthy financial advisors. There are the big brand name financial advisors, and Americans, we love our brand names, Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs and
Mm.
Wells Fargo and these guys. And the truth of the matter is those financial advisors, they work for those banks. They don't
Mhm.
work for you, the
Mhm.
client, and they
Mhm.
have products to sell you. And so there's a small but growing cohort of financial advisors who have gone out on our own. So I don't have the name of a big bank behind me. And so I'm independent, but I'm also a fiduciary, which means that I have taken an oath to put my client interest before my own. I have no products to sell, and my clients never pay any commissions. And that means we sit on the same side of the table. And now I'm not sure to the degree that answers the question about me not being your father's financial advisor, but that's just one part of it. And I guess the core communication there is there's a whole spectrum of knowledge that you can attain about personal finance and investing, or you can make a lot of money and delegate it if you find the right person.
Mhm.
Now, you should always, and I'm sure as a business owner, that you always make sure you're the one signing the checks, and
Mhm.
I'm not saying delegate all of your money, for
Right.
goodness sake.
Right. 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 Right.
The buck has to stop with you. But so and then so let's put that conversation on a shelf for a second, and let me address this idea of the style of company and branded advice that I've created in my life. In my business, I spent many years in this business. My father mentored me into the business. I'm 18 years in at this point, and most of my colleagues, because I got mentored into the business by my father, looked and talked like my father. Okay, think
Mhm.
his colleagues, and the truth is, they talked down to me. They
Mhm.
didn't give me the time of day. They would pat me on the shoulder and say, "Oh, does your daddy let you talk to clients?" They would say, "Aren't you doing the marketing for the firm?" And that's in exclusion to client service, right? Because of
Right.
course this young female couldn't be doing financial planning
Yeah,
work.
that doesn't even make sense.
That was just for the big strong men, right?
Mhm.
And so I said to myself at some point, you know what? It brought for me a lot of feelings of insecurity. I thought, well, if financial advisors look like these guys, why would anyone hire me? Because I don't look like that and I
Mhm.
don't sound like that. And I finally got so fed up with the disrespect and just lack of any kind of credibility that they would give me. One day I had this thought, and it was like it occurred to me against my will. It just came into my brain. It was like, Hillary, if they're treating you this badly, how do you think they're treating their female clients?
Exactly, right? That's
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's intimidating.
Yeah, and I thought, when I go look for a doctor, I always go to see a woman. I
Right.
always want to see a woman. I thought, you might not be the right financial advisor for everybody, but I guarantee you there's a strong contingent of women out there looking for someone who is not going to pat them on the shoulder and talk down to them. And I can't tell you how many times and the moment I had that thought, it transformed my whole life and my business, by the way. I think I doubled the size of my practice that year.
Mm.
And so it was energetically very powerful for me to realize that and to align myself around that as a mission. And I never use Wall Street speak in my practice. I try not to use language that people in my office don't understand. I instead, for example, and I rarely use the word stocks or securities. I call them companies. You own companies, right?
Mm.
And that's like, oh, okay, we're not using Wall Street speak.
Right.
But I can't tell you how many times I've sat with a woman who is maybe a divorcee or a widower, and she says, I hate going to my financial advisor. I've never felt so condescended to.
Mhm.
And Hillary, I don't even want to call him to tell him that I'm hiring you. Can you please, handle that for
That's
me?
pretty bad if she doesn't even want to make the call to fire him. See?
I know. So it's turned into a very warm, supportive environment for my clients, and everything we do in the practice, all of the policies and procedures and ways that we work with our clients is all wrapped around that. It's integrated into the company values, and it's really it's a nice place to show up in the morning. I really love what I do, and my clients don't fire me. Nobody leaves.
Right.
So I think that's the big vote of confidence, right?
Right. And the thing is, and that's why I wanted you to explain a little bit the way you do business. Of course, you can do business online and across the country, and any one of my listeners, if they resonate with you, they certainly can reach out. But it's also the bigger picture. It's just knowing that you can walk out the door if the financial planner that you've interviewed or the accountant that you've interviewed is not treating you well. I think it is very much like you said, Hilary, that it's like the last bastion of feminism to, kind of hit the street here of, being able to just say, I don't have to stand for this. I don't have to be treated this way. We had on the show Danielle Liss, who is a lawyer that specializes in creatives, and she was on episode 116. And we also had Jody Padar on the show, who is a CPA, and she was on episode 229. And these women both strike me as that they run their businesses the way you do, where it's not about, we're so amazing over here and we do all this technical stuff with your money and your legal stuff that, just sit there tight while we take care of your life for you and just sign right there. I love this new breed of working and being accountable and being open and because I have to tell you, this is the part that does come from my personal experience, is that I have had the luxury of having my husband, who has his degree in accounting and who has an MBA in business and has run, this is his third company that we're running now. And the thing is that when you have someone by your side that you trust implicitly with every single part of you, let alone your business, then I have had the luxury of avoiding those stereotypes. And of course, I'm old enough that I would have really been subjected to them. Let's be serious, like in a big way. And, if I was 30 years ago going to go out in 1982 and try and hire a CPA or a CFA, they'd look at me like, really? Stop. You know what I'm saying? Get your dad down here and then we'll talk. Right. And so I just feel like, because I've been so safe in it, but I know how critical it is to understand your finances. It's absolutely critical to understand your profit and loss. It's critical to understand how your business runs. But then once you've got a few coins left over for yourself, it's very, very important that you learn how and what to do with those coins, because as self-employed people, we're not getting pensions. When we get done running our interior design firms at 65 or 70 years old, unless we have the opportunity and created a business that we could sell, when you close that door, you're not getting a pension from a teacher's, a community, or, from the PSEG or whatever it is. So I know how important it is to be thinking about this all along in your business, of paying yourself from the beginning and putting your money away from the beginning, and making sure you don't wake up at 55 and go, holy Lord, I got to work another 40 years in order to retire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's and there is that day for everybody. And for some people, it occurs in their 20s, and some their 30s, and some their 50s. And life feels a lot more painful for those for whom it happens in their 50s. So, if you can use, Luann's message to kind of, I guess, wake you up is the right term, get you into action, get you out of ostrich syndrome. I think that your future self will really be grateful to you.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Profit First? Do you listen to that podcast, Hilary?
I read the book. Yeah. I don't listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I read the book as well.
And I do that in my personal life too.
Us too. And it was so funny because, this is the funny. I'm always very truthful on the show. This is how blatantly I do not handle our finances at WindowWorks and at our home. But when I read that book, I came across the book listening to Natalie's Biz Chicks podcast, and he was on there, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so I read the book, and I bring it to my husband, and I'm like, there's this really cool thing, the blah, blah, blah. And I know we're 30 years into it, and this and that and the other thing, but blah, blah, blah. He's like, Lan, I have multiple accounts for us. I was like, oh, we do? He's like, yeah, we do. I'm like, awesome. You're so smart. So the thing is, like I said, look, everybody knows my big passion is to help people run their businesses smart and to be profitable and make it worthwhile for them. But the secondary thing is to never underestimate that if you are the only one, if the buck stops with you, you cannot pretend that this part of the business does not exist. There's planning for it, the planning of your finances and your future. So Hilary, talk to us a little bit about, you had a sentence that you said to me. I love it. I thought it was very succinctly put. Explain to us the difference between a lifestyle business and a sellable business.
So this is, when I speak to business owners, this is one of the key topics I talk about. So you need to understand the kind of business that you are in. If you have a product business or another type of business that you know is sellable, and you'll know this from talking with people in your industry, but basically it's a business that doesn't require you to run it. It's something you could hand off to someone who would run it and earn income from the machine that you've built. All of business is a set of systems that works in the same way a machine would, but businesses make money. Machines make products and businesses make money. So if you have a sellable business, then you can afford to pay yourself less when you're running it. But if you don't have a business that can run without you, you can't sell that business, not for very much money at all. And so I call that a lifestyle business. And you need to pay, you've got to get to a place where you can pay yourself a very, very generous salary, because once you're done working in the business, that's it. The business isn't going to pay you in the way that, like you said, most of us don't get pensions. That's not how life is right now. So, I look at business owners who are running businesses that are a function of them and their talents and their creative spirit and ingenuity. And if they're only paying themselves, a minimum wage, $35,000 a year, $50,000 a year, it's like, you really, really need to focus on which of your clients and projects are most profitable. Stop doing the other projects and start focusing on the profit, because you've got to save a lot of money. Life is expensive in this country. And, there's no true safety net. While Social Security is very valuable, it's not enough for anyone to live on. And so as you've been saying, you've really got to focus on putting that money away, and hopefully in tax deferred accounts, but at least take on maximizing your tax deferred savings ability every year, and just really bulletproof your finances.
One thing I don't know, because we do have a number of employees, from a legal standpoint, so for instance, can you, as a solo, can you take a salary and have your own SEP account in that? Like, I know we have it, but that might be because I have 8 employees. So is that a classification on your business, whether you're an LLC or sole proprietor, or is that not a question that goes to you? Or do you know what I'm asking you?
So you
like
have
a retirement
employees,
account, we have a matching retirement, and that's the thing. I think it's called a SEP account. You see, this is where I lose my.
If you have a matching retirement account, you probably have an installed 401k plan, maybe with a profit sharing plan layered on top of it.
Okay.
And so because if you're saving, that's the kind of account where if you're saving for yourself, you also promise the government that you'll save a little bit on behalf of your employees, what they call a safe harbor match. Does that term sound familiar?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So that's it's either a 401k or a profit sharing plan, or both.
Okay. And so a solo would just do their own IRA planning. They would just do their own savings and stuff like that. It would be a different setup.
So a solo 401k is for a person running a business who has no employees, and you generally put yourself on payroll, which means that you're paying into Social Security, which means that you can expect to claim from Social Security.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Right.
Most people avoid paying themselves through payroll because it's a hassle and they don't want to pay the tax. Well, I think that's a mistake. And then you can defer from that payroll compensation into a 401k. So it's not an IRA. It's literally called a solo 401k. And most custodians like Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, they'll open them for you if you need to go apply for it. It requires a little bit more paperwork. But then whereas most people can only defer $5,500 into an IRA, you can actually put I think in 2018, it's $19,000 into a solo
See?
401k. And I will get that. I can actually get that exact. It's either 18.5 or 19 in
That's close
2018.
enough.
It's more than 3x,
Right,
right?
right. I
It's a
mean, and
big
this is an
deal.
important thing to do, don't you believe? Even no matter what. I mean, is this valid if you are paying yourself $300 a week or $3,000 a week? Do it and do this forced level of savings. Do you agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, the thing people don't realize, I think, about like that number I just gave you. Let's just say it's $18,000. Well,
Mm-hmm.
most people pay about 25 to 30% net effective income tax rates. In California, it may be a little bit more than that. But, in that case, you just took about $4,000 out of Uncle Sam's pocket and put it back in yours. By saving for your future, you're literally giving yourself free money. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a big deal.
It is. These are the types of things that I have no ability to truly express to my designer friends listening, but that I'm trying to bring out and make sure that we have this conversation. That's exactly it, that there's ways and there's things that you should be doing and that are probably going to be smarter for you both in the short run. Like you just said, you took $4,000 out of the government and put it towards you, but you also put something away for your future. And it's people like you that are coming into this landscape that are not intimidating, that you don't have to feel like I'm a dummy for asking these questions. I'm asking you these questions. It's part of me does feel like a dummy, but I feel like whatever, I need to know and my people need to know. So I'm going to look a little dumb for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, honey, if we were having a conversation about Facebook ads, I would be the one looking like the dummy, okay?
Well, and that's really the truth, right? We all have our expertise, and like with designers never feel that their client is less of anything if the client doesn't understand what their expertise is. They're glad that the client doesn't understand, right? It's like, good. If you knew, then you wouldn't need me. So
Right.
it's okay. That's really what my big, huge message is that I don't care if you're 25 years old and you're a solo designer or you're 55 years old and a solo designer. If you have not had the benefit of being able to talk one-on-one with somebody about the ins and outs on the best way for you at your place at your time in business to set it up, then this is the time to do it. Like, do it. Right?
Yeah, I'm working with, I have a wealth mastermind that I'm running, a coaching program, and I'm working with a pediatric dentist, and she shared with the group that, she's making well into maybe multiple six figures a year. They've got her dental, obviously she's a doctor, right? And so she's a successful woman in a technical field, and she had questions about the retirement plan that the practice installed, and the advisor on the plan laughed at her. And she said it's been maybe 8 years since she asked that question. She has no idea what's happening in that plan. It's her money, but she's too afraid to ask. She feels too ashamed.
See?
And it just makes my blood boil to think about it.
Me too. That's my point. And
Yeah.
that's why I just, like I said, I have the compassion, because if I didn't have Vin, I would be in that place. I would be the person asking questions. However, there's no way I would go 8 years without my answer. I don't care who I'm asking. I'm just going to say. But, this is my point, though, is that not everybody has somebody at their right-hand side that is helping them and taking care of them with this. And so that means, you know what? Look in the mirror. It's you then. But don't avoid it just because it's intimidating or you don't understand it or whatever. It's too, there's no, I love your other sentence that you said, a business is a set of systems. I mean, you're speaking my love language here with this. And I'm always begging and imploring my designers to put their business into systems, and so that it can be duplicated and it can be run by other people. But sometimes, even if you do all of those things, you still might not sell your business at the end of your career. And as I understand that, I'm 55 years old as we're recording this. I'm thankfully we're set up and we're well managed, thankfully. But the thing is, I also know that unless I really invest, which we are, thankfully, in, succession planning and everything else, we could just look at this after 35 years of running a business and go, all right, well, I guess that's it. Just close the door, turn off the lights. And it's done. Your income's done. That's it. Like you're done working, but you have no money. So these are things that you have to think about. That, how are you setting it up? Can you possibly sell it? We had a designer on the show a couple of weeks ago, Hilary, that the two of the designers from Meadowbank Design Team in Philadelphia, they purchased the interior design firm that they own now from the owner that they worked for more than $1 million. And that's very unusual in our industry to sell an interior design firm for that kind of money. But that woman ran a very, very smart business. And these two women are very smart and recognize the inherent value that they would be buying with that business. But that's very unusual in our industry.
Yeah, and that's a huge win. And, it would be worthwhile, maybe you've already done this, but to take a look at on your podcast, or maybe your listeners could take a look at what that person did that was different, that had them create a sellable business, because that's good money.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah, that's what we talk about all the time. Put your systems in place, get your company mission, understand what your why is, all of these things. And that particular business owner, that woman had it set up. And it was funny though that the girls learned a tax lesson that you may be familiar with. What they cautioned everybody, because they were paying the previous owner throughout the year for the payment on the business, right? So they didn't have to, they came up with a certain amount of down payment, but then the woman was willing to take payments throughout the year. And at the end of the year, they were notified at tax time by their accountant. I think it was something like they owed something like $50,000 in taxes, because here no one had cautioned them that all of the payments that they were making were going to be obviously construed as income for them. Like they never saw it. They wrote checks out of the business, but it was a pass-through income, right? And so they were like, make sure you take care of that. So that was. Oh,
I get it. You see what it's personal income.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Brutal.
Like, yes.
Brutal.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you hear it, it makes sense. Like if you you wrote the check to this woman. Well, whose money was it? It wasn't your neighbors down the block. It was yours. Just because it didn't go into your house and pay any of your bills, it paid your bill, which was your payment for the business. So, but and they had a team of people on it, and they said, we just want to put this out there because this was a big lesson for us, and we didn't see it coming, and they were very fortunate that the owner let them work out a payment plan for them, and so that they didn't have to get in trouble with the IRS and all that stuff. So, but it's lessons. It's money lessons. That's the point.
Yeah. Yes. And the converse of that is, as the business owner, if you can create enough systems around you that you can remove yourself from being critical to the function of the business, then you can also negotiate. And probably what this other woman negotiated is called an earn out. So let's say you sell your business to me, and it takes me 5 years to take over the accounts and really be ingratiated to the clients and really, really take the reins. Well, you continue to get compensated as the chairman of the board during that period of time. And then at the end of the day, you get compensated if my profits are high. So you're motivated to keep the business moving in a profitable way. And that can really ease the transition between owners. So, you don't have to create a business that's free of personality, because I know as designers, you all integrate your personality into everything that you do. But there are ways to sort of make these transitions profitably and over time.
Yes. It sounds very similar to the structure that they had, actually. Yes, definitely. Because it was always, first of all, the woman was very smart, and she did exactly as you said. While they worked for her, she consistently put them client facing. She always brought them to the meetings, and then she would say, oh my goodness, I know that you're asking me to select this for you, but Kirsten is so much better than that than I am. Let's have her come out and show it to you. So she was always putting the girls up front. I'm calling them girls, or grown women, putting the women up front, and really making and in creating a confidence in all of her client base with these two women, so that when the time came, they said that they didn't even make an announcement that the company was sold. It just sort of seamlessly continued to go on. Right. Yes. It was very much like you described. So yes. Awesome. So, I mean, any other little tidbits that you want to share for empowering our creatives out there for taking control of their destiny?
I do. So I'm big. I invite you to think about yourself not as just the owner of the business or the CEO, but really the vice president of sales. And because cash flow is the engine of financial success. You obviously can't, you and I have been talking about saving and investing and hiring a financial advisor. Well, the precursor to all of that is making a lot of money. And I think if you orient yourself around sales, generating new opportunities, for most businesses, the main problem is you don't have enough leads. That's it, right?
Right.
So you got to figure out how to produce the leads and then convert the leads to sales. My team and I, we run our team meetings over the opportunities dashboard. I don't go down their list of tasks. I am not interested in managing their activities. I'm interested in managing the financials of the business, bringing new clients in, converting people who are interested to clients, and then doing great work for those people. So it's a vantage point from which you can view your business. And even when it was just me alone in a room, that's how I ran my day, was from the opportunities dashboard. And, you can use a spreadsheet to create that in the beginning. I have a CRM tool. I'm sure there are CRM tools that are custom for your industry. And I just really am passionate about business owners building big, profitable businesses. And so I think simple tweaks can really make a big difference. So that's what I would share.
That's a smart thing. And I love that you discuss how you regularly review the opportunities, the potential sales, building the pipeline, right? It's exactly, yep. We do that every Monday after our team meeting with our whole team. Then we meet with just the sales team. And we literally go back every single Monday for the previous 3 weeks. And we start. We go, okay, Luann, where were you on this Monday, this date? Oh, okay, I saw Mrs. Smith. Did you sell her yet? No, I didn't sell her yet. Did you quote her? Yes, I did quote her. Did you follow up? Yes, I did follow up. Okay, Kim, where were you? Mr. Smith. Okay, did you sell him? Yes, I sold him. Did you order it? And we do this, and we do it every Monday for all 4 of us. And what the funny thing is about it is that 2 things happen with that review. Is that sometimes you find that there's somebody that fell through the cracks. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I was out to see that person and I didn't do anything afterwards. Like, what? And here I am leaving gold on the street. Like I just, what are we doing here, folks? Right. And then other things that come out of it if you're a solo, that just reminds you of your, what you have to do. But what I love is just like you do, we focus on not the tasks that we have to do, but the opportunities that we have to make sure that we address. Right. And so the other thing that happens from it too is sometimes Kim might be working on a particular client, or Rich, and we'll be like, oh, what happened? Did you close it down? No. Okay, what's the problem? And then they'll be like, oh, well, she said this, and then we'll have a roundtable discussion about how to problem solve the sale, the negotiation, or whatever it is that's clogging it from being in the open file to the sold file, right?
Exactly.
So that's good. So you did it when you were alone, and you do it with your team, and I like that. We do the same.
Yeah. Yep.
Very, very smart lady over there, Hilary.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I think the same of you. I really appreciate this discussion, and I think it's great that you're interested in talking about these topics with your audience. I think some parts of financial planning really are boring, but the results of financial planning are not boring at all.
That's right. You see, the results are sitting on beaches with Mai Tais. That's the results.
Why is it always a Mai Tai?
I don't know, right? It's not fun unless there's an umbrella, right?
I think that's objectively true. Yes, for sure.
Oh, well, so here's the thing. We want to make sure that everyone knows that they can listen to you on your podcast. It's called Profit Boss Radio. And then also your name is interestingly spelled because it's Hilary with 1 L, right? Hilary and Hendershott with 2 T's. And so I believe it's HilaryHendershott.com, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You have lots of resources on your website. It's a very dynamic website. There's tons of information. You have lots of great blog posts there with information. And I would say that if you heard yourself in anything today where you are like, I'm sort of one of those, I'm sort of feeling a little intimidated, but it's time. Hilary's website is a great place to get started because she has a lot of resources, a lot of, like I said, blog posts that talk about these things. So you just sort of feel like maybe you get some lingo down and some of this, you know what I mean? Feel like
Yeah.
I kind of know what I need to know and what I don't know. It's almost like you almost have to know what you don't know in order to ask for what you need.
Exactly.
So, but I recommend that everybody take a listen over at her podcast. And of course, like I said, to check out her website at hilaryhendershott.com. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be. All of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.